All right. Morning, Freedom Family. How is it going with you guys out there? All right. Here we are, ready to go. All right. We have only three of the eight new end of year special plots left. So there are three left. I'm going to go ahead and get into them, break them down again. I know we've been talking about generational wealth for like the last 2 weeks, and we're set up on doing 100 new generational wealth offshore trusts for 100 new families by the end of 2026. So we are well on our way to that. However, here we are with the end of year special, and we only have three plots left for the end of year special. So let's go ahead and get into that just a little bit more. All right. So the end of year special is designed for folks who wanted to move and wanted to take advantage of our new relationships with our Chinese suppliers, right? So if you guys have been following us for a little while now, you know a couple months ago we spent over a month in China having a good time, but also renegotiating deals with our Chinese suppliers for our construction company and making sure that we can get those supplies over here at a solid price to make sure that we could pass on some of that savings to our clients. And so, because we were successful in that endeavor, we came back and started a end of year special that included everything you need to thrive over here in Kenya for our relocation clients. So, what we did was we put together a architectural design with our architectural firm that could fit the square footage necessary to access what's called economies of scale with our Kenyan partners. So what does that mean? It means that we got enough of an amount of materials in the design that we could access like a first tier of a discount, if you will, right? And so we came in at a little above 1,600 square feet, two-story home that we build for everybody in this end of year special. We did run into some folks that are retiring and don't want steps, so we did come up with a rancher design that will use the same amount of like tiles and paint and concrete and cement and bricks, right? All of those things are pre-arranged. That's why the special has its own, price already prearranged in it. So all those things are prearranged. The size of the home, all of the land plots are near the beach in Diani Beach. So you got to be a beach lover for this one. And we can't adjust those things because it adjusts the container of materials that we would be bringing in from China to build it, right? So if you adjust those things, you end up pushing yourself out of the special. But the end of year special was set up so that folks who wanted to come here and have everything said and done could do that. So what it includes is it includes, of course, the immigration, right? You have to come here, legally, right? So of course it includes immigration. That's step number one. It includes the land purchase, the standard 50 by 100 plot of land, an eighth of an acre, right? That's number two. Then our construction firm builds you that house that's already been pre-priced out to make sure that it fits within the package. So that's three. The next thing that's in there is the trust fund that manages everything in your life. So we'll do an offshore trust fund. We'll get that all squared away. We'll figure out who your beneficiaries are. We'll typically make it non-grantor, so you don't have to worry about any tax issues or anything like that, unless you pull money directly from it to a U.S. citizen. That's a different discussion, right? So we get that all set up for you, okay? And then the crown jewel of the special is the bond ladder. So we do a 6 bond ladder. That bond ladder will pay out 50,000 local currency per month minimum. That's our target, and it will last for 10 years minimum. All right, that's also our target. We've been exceeding target so far with everybody in the past. So we've been over the 50,000 a month mark for every single client. so far, and we're not over the 10 year with every client. Some clients do get some months are 10 years, but there's always some months in there that are more. So the max you can get on a treasury bond here is 30 years. Some people get that 30 years, but each month is different. So nobody has gotten like 30 years across the board because they don't release the same year of bond for each month, right? So you got to deal with what the government gives, right? But what that does is it allows for monthly passive income at a high enough amount that you wouldn't necessarily need to work or do anything else. You could just live off of that passive income for the next 10 years, right? um most of our people don't, like, most of our people do something else. They have a hobby, they have a whatever, they bring in some additional income anyway. But it's nice to have that safety net. We do have a few people who just like retired essentially, and they live off of that bond income, and that's the end of it, right? So that's really the crown jewel of the special, is that there's a way for you to relocate where you don't actually have to have the money to sustain yourself, where the money to sustain yourself is passive and built into the relocation package, right? So that's really the crown jewel of the end of year relocation package. That's why last time you heard me talk about it in December, a week later it had completely sold out. We acquired this new stretch of land that we're presenting to you guys 2 days ago, and there's only 3 left, right? It's normally it's normally not this easy to get the passive income side of it that's going to sustain you for the next 10, 20, 30 years that you're here. So that's really the crown jewel of the entire package. We do bond ladders by itself. We always get this question, can I just do a bond ladder? You can. That's not part of the special, but you can do the bond ladder. What restricts the special is the land, because we're building you a house. So we can do the bond ladders all year long. But the special is also restricted by time because, like I said, it's each bond in the bond ladder pays you twice a year. That's how the bonds work here, right? So every 6 months, you would get paid. And the government releases 2 options per month of bonds to buy. Sometimes they'll come back and do like a special sale or whatever, but you can't bank on that, right? So there are 2 bonds that are put up as an option to buy every month, okay? So it could realistically take 6 months to stack up the bonds, right? So that's why no matter what happens, this closes down February 15th, because after that, by the time we onboard you, even if you came on, let's say you came on the very last day or whatever, came on February 15th, by the time we onboarded you and created your trust, it would already at the very, very least be probably March. Hey, Henrock, what's going on, man? You know what? Henrock, reach out to me. Maybe I might have something for you. Reach out to me, Henrock. So keep that in mind. So no matter what, as far as locking in for this year, that essentially stops February 15th. If you guys want something else, beyond that, it's possible. It's just not this guarantee, right? Because beyond that, there's no guarantee that we're going to get all 6 of them done in that first year. So like if you come to me in July and want to start a bond ladder, you're not going to have your bond ladder in 2026, right? So there's that. Hey, what's going on, Ed? How are you? All right, so we are at 3 left. We will answer any questions this live about anything you may have with the end of year special, because we're probably going to be out of them by the end of the week. What's that? Who pays? The Kenyan government does. Yep. The Kenyan government does. Yeah, no. This is not like I'm not selling corporate bonds from my company. This is not like a private thing. You know what I mean? These are government treasuries. Yeah, I guess good question. We did have somebody on here yesterday who has a bunch of bonds in the United States, but seems like she had corporate bonds, and she was asking similar questions. These are not corporate bonds. These are government treasuries. Do we still do the contract? I know one of your clients who retired using it. The contract? Huh. I don't know what you mean. And don't say their name because they're protected by attorney-client privilege. But I don't know what you mean with that client. They retired using the contract. I don't know what you mean. We do have a lot of clients that want to retire, and we help them like retire over here. And we've had different ways to do that over the years. Some ways become viable and then stop being viable, and then it ebbs and it flows. So like 5 years ago, the bonds were not viable, so we couldn't retire somebody using the bonds. Contractor. Oh, government contracting. Yes, 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 yes. That used to be one of the ways that we would get people. So people would want to, relocate over here, and they wouldn't know how to make money. So back in the day, we used to, register and certify everybody who wanted it in SAM as a government contractor. And then they would have the opportunity to essentially hire us to write their request for proposals, right? Their RFPs. So they would choose whichever government contract aligned with whatever it is that their company did. And then we would go ahead and we would write the proposal. We would write about 90% of it. We couldn't write the stuff that they were an expert in, right? So if they were expert, like we had this one guy who got a contract, I think it was in New York State, but it was to like weld submarines, which apparently was what he did in the Navy. So like you dive underwater and you like underwater arc weld, like these submarines. So obviously he had all the expertise in the world on that. So the couple of paragraphs in the proposal that had to do specifically with the expertise, he had to write that. But the entire rest of the proposal, all of the budgeting and the graphs and all of that stuff, we had a team that did all of that. We stopped that essentially after Doge. So we discontinued that after Doge gutted all the government contracts and gutted all the opportunities. They're still there. You can still be a government contractor, but it was so utterly reduced. Like USAID, a lot of government contracts came through USAID. They gutted USAID, right? A lot of government contracts were coming through DoD, right? But now DoD is like scared, so DoD like pulled back on all its programs and stuff like that. So like it's not viable anymore. Maybe next president it'll be viable again. Who knows, right? But so that program is gone. Luckily, around the same time that he started, destroying those opportunities, the bond market jumped up, right? So hey, Shalina. So a new thing became viable, you know what I mean? And then so we went from there. My lady is a civil engineer in Kenya. She said absolutely you're absolutely accurate. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Looks like my wife ordered something. It looks like I'm getting a delivery. This is how Amazon works here, guys. You want to see how Amazon deliveries work? Give me 1 second. How's it going? You can bring it right over here. Sorry, I got something in the way. Thank you very much. Excellent. Minor interruption. Oh yeah. Okay. while you do that, give me your number so I can send you a tip. All right, 07.
718
Mm-hmm.
51
Mm-hmm.
51
Mm-hmm.
68.
Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yeah, right.
Excellent. Thank you, my friend. All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you too, boss.
You're welcome. I think you'll be seeing a bit more of me. I think we got a few more boxes coming from Amazon.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right. Sorry about that. What do you mean you didn't know there was Amazon in Kenya? Of course there's Amazon in Kenya. Yeah. Yeah. Regular old Amazon. Amazon Prime. Ugh. All right. Where were we? Sorry about that. I didn't expect the delivery to arrive so early in the morning. I always tip the delivery drivers though, so they probably come here first. As you saw, that is not a standard thing to do in this country. Tipping is not even part of the culture at all in this country. So it is interesting how much better the treatment becomes when you spread a little bit of money around. All right, so back to it. Right. You were saying that your wife is a civil engineer in Kenya, and she was talking about the accuracy of the bond statements. Yeah, man, the bonds are definitely on point now. And back to what you were asking me. um, yeah, we used to do that. So you're right. You probably do know one of our clients. That's not something we talk about anymore because it's on hold for now. But yeah, we used to be able to set clients up, get them in SAM, start getting them government contracting, and then roughly 10 months later, they'd be able to relocate and the government contracting would be paying. Because what you do is you turn into a prime contractor. So you start getting the contracts and subbing them out to subcontractors as long as the contract allows for it. Some contracts don't. But as long as the contract allows for it, you start subbing it out. And then you're making like 20% off the top. And the people doing the actual work are making the bulk of the income, obviously. And so that was a way that we used to do it. You're correct. Right now, with the current administration, that's not viable. So right now, it's more about the bond battering. Hey Emma, thanks for liking the live. All right. Yeah, not a problem at all. Yeah, that's a cool blast from the past. Thanks for bringing that up. But yeah, for now, the most viable option is the option that we have built into the end of the year special. So it is the bond ladder because the bond ladder will provide passive income immediately, right? All bonds do, right? So the bond ladder will provide passive income. It's just the difference here is that it provides it at an amount that's sustainable for the client, so that the client can actually live on it. Said the minimum target is 50,000. I live. Okay, so you're in Nairobi, number one. I'm talking about the beach, but you live in Nairobi. Your rent is 60. Yeah. Absolutely, you're 100% correct. The bond income will not support anybody who wants to rent. Typically, our clients don't rent, right? So the bond ladder will not support any renters. You're absolutely right. That's why part of this particular package is we build you a house. That's part of what makes it affordable. So if you have the house and you're not renting, right? So what's the rest of your monthly budget? Since you put your money out there like that, what's the rest of your monthly budget? Right? You said it's 60,000 a month for your rent. What do you spend for the rest of the month? Don't worry, I'll wait. About 40K, exactly. So if I eliminate that 60K and you got 40K left, and I'm providing 50,000, or your bonds are providing 50,000 of passive income minimum, What do you got? You got 10K left over after all your bills are paid. Right. See, the difference with here is you don't have property taxes. Um, you don't have a water bill. You don't have a gas bill. You don't have a sewage bill. You can have an electric bill. You can upgrade to get rid of the electric bill. You can be completely off grid, right? But you'll have a biodigester, right? So it's almost like a septic tank, except you never have to pump it out, right? You don't have to open it. You just let it do its thing, right? So you have a biodigester. You have your own well, right? So you won't need a water bill or anything like that. You could set up solar panels so you could have no electric bill. And these particular plots that we have right now are agricultural plots. So because they're agricultural plots, there's no taxes on them. So you're not even paying like property tax. So once your house is up, the bill that most people have is their electric bill and their internet. And then like the other stuff is their luxury stuff. Like so like their Netflix and all whatever that stuff is, that's to the side. Right? But that becomes their only bills. So the house is key. If you're renting, then still the 50,000, like he said, his rent was 60, right? So if you're renting, it can still help, but you won't put you in a position where you're actually free and clear, right? The other thing is different folks have different lifestyles. So we have folks that just increase the bond. You can do that, right? So you can increase the bond amount. We have a lot of people who double the bond, right? And so they're at 100,000 a month. Well, even with what you're spending with your monthly and your rent, that 100 a month would free you, right? But you're in Nairobi, so that's like comparing Manhattan, you know what I mean, to you know Baja California or something like that, because we're at the beach, right? But we're not like at Miami. We're at we're at like West Palm. You know what I mean? But still, the cost of living is way lower. Yeah, exactly. Yep. So that's why it's everything you need. That's why the house is there, right? So that you don't have a bunch of overhead. Because the other thing with like these condos and stuff, the security guard that's downstairs, you're paying for him. The pool and the maintenance, you're paying for that. The elevator in the building, you're paying for that. You know, there's a gate with a parking lot, and typically like you have to pull up to the gate, and a guard comes out, takes down, the license plate number and all that. When you live in these high rises, you're paying for all that. There's service fees and service charges. So even if you buy the condo, you're paying the service fee forever. So it's like you buy a house and then rent it. We're Diaspora Freedom Initiative, right? We free people from all that BS. We do not, put people in those situations where they're paying for the rest of their lives for something that they could have just paid once and done for and started making money off of for real if they wanted to through, short-term rentals and diversifying, the property. So we don't really do that. But even for the folks who are doing that, if they upgrade their bond package, they could typically get away with doing that and still not have to come out of pocket at all. And then the bond lasts about a good 10 years. So, which is exactly why I just said what I just said. So a lot of people are like, why did I just take the money and buy the condo and da 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 da? Because then the money is just gone, right? A lot of people do that, but then the money is just gone. The other feature of the bond is that passive income is spread out over 10 years. The other thing is you don't lose your principal with bonds. You get it back. So the money that you put into the bond, you will get back at bond maturity or during the amortization of the maturity, right? Excuse me. What's the amortization mean? The amortization means that if you have a 10-year bond, they may give you back half of your principal at year 5, right? And then after year 5, maybe they'll give you back, 30%, of the 50 that's left. They might give you 30 of that at year, 7. And then at year 10, you get the final 20% that's left, right? So if it was 1,000, You get 500, at year 5. Then you get another 300 at year 7, and then at year 10 you would get the 200 back, right? But you're in it for the entire long haul, right? So that's what the amortization schedule are. Some of the buildings aren't regulated by the government, so safety. Oh, absolutely, 100%, 100%. Yep. Yeah. Now it's just for us. It's just always better to build your own. 100%. Always better to just build your own. Because then you know exactly what it's hitting for, right? You know exactly what the specs are. You know exact. Like we'll routinely build 2-story houses, but the client is like, I might want to do like a functional roof in the future, have barbecues up there, have parties up there, blah 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 blah, and so we'll rate the concrete slab for what they want to do in the future. You know what I mean? You're not going to be able to get that in something that's already built. You know, you might have to reinforce it to do any additional building, or it might not be in the plan. Like if somebody expresses that they might want to add another floor or do something different, we'll put it in the county plan so that when they do it, they don't need a license or anything like that to do it. It's part of the plan for the house to begin with. So even though the house would be done and it would look done and all of that stuff and you could be living in it, technically it'd be an unfinished house by the county plan. And when you want to finish it, you just finish it. You don't have to go get licensing and all of that stuff. You're not going to find that in a pre-built house or like a rented condo or anything like that, because how would they know what you wanted to do in the future? It's not really possible, right? So all of that customization boils down to, you building your own thing. Is it cheaper? All right, well, 2 things. Number one, if cheap is the mindset, this is not for you, right? You don't want to move to another country, talk about what's the cheapest. You're going to mess yourself up. So there's that. But number 2, yes, it actually is. But that shouldn't be your mindset. You will absolutely mess yourself up. I like the Philippines, actually. I lived in the Philippines years ago. It's one of the first places that I lived outside of the United States. I lived in Butuan. Spent a lot of time in Angeles City, though. So thanks for coming by. But yeah, that doesn't. You want to be in a value mindset. So yes, it's cheaper, but that's not the point. The point is the value. That's the mindset you want to be in. Because if all you're looking for is cheaper, you will get cheap stuff, and that cheap stuff will fall down on your head. And then by the time it all comes crashing down, you'll be broke. So move away from that mindset. But value for sure. You want the value to be on point. So value is going to include quality. Value is going to include how long does it last. Value is going to include, am I going to have to go back in and redo it again? But yes, it just happens to be more cost effective. That's true. Will that support? Yeah, I mean, I think it would. It depends on who you are and what your lifestyle is like and like what it is you're trying to build. But like for me, I spend my monthly budget is somewhere in the neighborhood of like 80K, right? So I do 80,000 in local currency a month, right? So then that 50,000 wouldn't cover me, but I have a bunch of staff that are part of my household, right? So I have like live-in staff. So, I have like a gardener who's a live-in gardener. I have a butler who's a live-in butler. I have a maid who's a live-in maid. We typically have a governess who's a live-in governess. And so I got a whole bunch of extra staff. If I didn't have all that staff, I probably would be under 58,000 a month. I'd probably be around 40. Probably be around 40. But I do about 80 and I have a ton of payroll. So it's a little bit different. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, it's a little bit different. But for me, I would just, all I'd have, like, doubling would probably work. You know, but a lot of people double though. A lot of people just double, I think, out of fear, quite frankly. Oh, sorry about that, Facebook. You lost connection there for a second. If the people on the Facebook Live are still here, just throw a 1 in the chat. I don't know what that was. Everybody else is good. And TikTok is on the same Wi-Fi as Facebook, so I think that was a Facebook issue. I see YouTube is coming alive. So yeah, a lot of people are just like, hey, you know, um, I just feel safer having 100,000 a month guarantee than a 50,000 a month guarantee, so they just increase the bond. And so I have no idea what that is. YouTube is a wild place. Only a YouTube do I get asked the most random questions. I would have thought TikTok would have been the one. There kind of is no max, right? Like, there's a maximum amount of bonds you can get, but there's no maximum amount of bonds you can own, right? So, for example, we have clients that have multiple ladders, and they have multiple ladders for multiple things. Um, I'm in Philly, Omar. Well, I'm from Philly. I'm in Kenya right now. Yeah, I'm in Kenya. I live in Kenya. I moved here years ago. I permanently live in Kenya. So for example, we got folks that they'll do a generational wealth trust for their grandkids, while at the same time they'll move out here, right, just for a better life, kind of like me, right, and then they'll do a bond ladder for both, right. So, um, nah, man, this is it. This is life out here, brother. Um, and then the bond ladder will pay both, right? So the bond ladder will end up pumping money into the generational wealth trust for the grandkids. So, like, we got one guy who did one last year. His trust is set to have $3.8 million in it in 20 years, right? That's the level it's compounding at. And then he has another bond ladder, so he has two different separate bond ladders. He has another bond ladder that just pays him every month so that he can live here without working. Why did I pick Kenya? That's part of it. That there are ways to invest here that allow you to live without working. So that's definitely part of it. The other part of it is not having any loss in lifestyle, because there's certain places you go and it's like you know the houses aren't the same, no AC, no hot water, no power, like that type of stuff. So Kenya was a place where I didn't have to deal with any of that. And the business laws in Kenya matter. So yeah. Oh, you thought this was your live, Ahmed? Sorry. See ya. All right. So yeah, that's the way that works. Oh, does it? Does it look like a cartoon? Yeah. You want? Yeah. There's the gardener running around doing whatever he's doing. There's the little dog. Yeah, no, it's not a cartoon. So yeah. No, my dogs are huge. I have two Rottweilers, a Black Lab, and a Cane Corso. That's the gardener's dog. Yeah. What's the boy's name? I show Speed. He was just here. He was just here. Like, I think he left yesterday. Yeah, man. Hey, Willinda. How much is a dollar worth? Like 130 local dollars. They call them shillings. No, I didn't. I didn't go up there and you know, so I live at the beach, and he was in like the capital city. So I didn't go up there and like check him out or anything like that. But they showed him major love. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool. There were actually roads that got like shut down. Like they had to like reroute traffic. And I think he couldn't move, so he had to like get a helicopter. Like that's how much love they came out and showed him. So it was pretty cool for him. But that's what I'm talking about as far as like there's different countries act different ways. Even he was like in his African tour, Kenya was like amazing. It was like the number one country he had been to over the tour. You know, I think he has more countries to go to, but so far it was like the number one place that he had gone. And so what ended up, you know, what ended up happening is he actually was like, you know what, I think I'm gonna buy a house here. Like this is real love, you know. And so Kenya is like that. It really is. It's because we went to 34 other African countries before we came here, just doing due diligence and all of that. So yeah. Oh, Henrock is right. So Henrock is right, but you're never going to get that. So I don't know how much of a traveler you are, Omar, but there's a bank rate, right? So you can Google what the exchange rate is. But then to exchange your money, the bank got to make some money. So they never give you the bank rate, right? So he's right. I think it is 129 shillings right now. But if you were to actually try and get that, you're not going to get that. So when you exchange your money, you're going to get like 127 because they're going to try to make something off of the exchange. So yeah. But that's how it is everywhere. That's not a Kenya thing. Like, you know, no matter where you go, the Google rate is not the rate they're going to give you at the teller. You might be able to get that on the street. There are like there are like black market, you know, vendors. That's, you know, that's as dangerous as it sounds, by the way. But you might be able to get that on the street. And those guys, they hold money until it goes up, until they can make money. So they're like long-term speculators, essentially. But yeah. So whatever you see, just knock a couple shillings off. So if you see let's say you decide you want to come out here and check out Kenya, and when you look, it's 130 to 1. Expect to get paid 128 or 127 because they got to make some money. They're not just going to give you a straight exchange and not make nothing at the bank, right? At the airport, you're going to get crushed. Like the airport's going to give you the worst rate. You're going to get like 122. So definitely don't do that because the airport is going to absolutely mess you up. He's gone. Bro, I don't know what you into. You gotta come find out for yourself. Well, it depends on what they want to do here. Depends on whether they want to retire here, whether they want to increase like a passport portfolio, so they want like dual citizenship, whether they want to open a business here, right? So there's plenty of different ways to immigrate. So the immigration path you choose is based on the outcome you want. We're not hiring any lawyers right now. Yeah, our law firm is in Mombasa, and we're not hiring any lawyers at the moment. So all is well. Yeah, thanks for asking. How are you? How's your family doing? The The only way that there would be a law opening is if we either rapidly expand and we need more lawyers on the team, or we go into like a new branch of law, which there's no plans for us to be doing that anytime soon. But if they're a lawyer, they can just afford to relocate. So they really wouldn't need to be sponsored on a work permit. Yeah, man. Yeah, Kenya's pretty solid. Kenya's pretty solid. Yeah, I mean, definitely. It's definitely about making sure that you can afford, like, the basics. You definitely don't want to you definitely want to go to any country and end up, homeless in a foreign country where you're not even a citizen, ain't got no safety net. You got to be able to afford it for sure. She's a baby lawyer. You try and get me to hire a baby lawyer? No, it's all right. No, but typically, I mean, anyone professional, like, we've relocated tons of like assistant fast food managers, like they can afford it. So like typically it doesn't, if she's professional, she only needs to work for like a year and then she'd be able to afford it. We just did not McDonald's, Dunkin' Donuts. We just did a Dunkin' Donuts assistant manager, and he qualified at all the tiers. Like he could afford the whole thing. So it's not terribly expensive. It's just a matter of like you got to be able to afford it. Is there anything I can do for me to make money? Yeah, we had a kid. Well, we have more than just that kid, but the kid is like the success story. We had a kid who was going to Harvard, and he just joined our affiliate program, and he would send us like 10 or 11 referrals a month. I'm sorry, a year. Jesus, not a month. A year. And his referrals always closed. I don't know what he did. I don't know if he had like a background in sales and like he prepped the referrals. I have no idea. But his referrals always closed. And we pay like 6% on a referral. So his referrals, like he was like targeted with it. We miss him. But he made like $120,000 a year off of us just with those 10 referrals, right? Because he referred people who wanted to build houses, right? So now you're getting 6% just like a realtor on building a house. You know what I mean? So if you're getting 6% on building a house and the house was $220,000 to build, you just got 6% of that, right? So now, so he used to get like $13,400 checks from us every month, but he didn't do like 12 months of the year, you know what I mean? He got about 10 months of the year he had a referral coming through. So he made serious money from us. So he made 6 figures. He's making 6 figures just for referrals. You don't have to, I feel like he was like pre-selling. I feel like he had like a background in sales or whatever, because very rarely did he refer somebody who didn't close. Because if you refer somebody they don't buy nothing, then you don't get a check, right? But very rarely did that happen with his referrals. His referrals were like always ready to go. Like we had the consultation with them. They were like, where do we wire the money? And like they were always ready. Oddly enough, all of his referrals were Chinese. So, it became obvious to us that he himself was Chinese, you know what I mean? And he was working his way through Harvard. But now he's an oral maxillofacial surgeon. So he makes like $500,000 a year now. So he doesn't refer too often. But every now and then he will send a referral. And so, yeah, that's the way that people make money with us, is that they refer people to us. And when those people close with us, they get 6%. So typically they'll refer us, and a lot of like, real estate people, where they're used to talking to people about real estate and they understand how good of a deal it is and all of that. A lot of those people will refer with us so that they still get paid, and it's actually less work. They don't have to do open houses and all of that stuff, and they still get the same pay. So yeah. Oh no, we have all of that, man. Yeah, we're not lacking in anything like that, So all of our positions are already filled. In fact, our social media manager will be out here in just a minute. Ask him meter if you like, but yeah, we have all those positions filled, bro. Homesteading and expanding your business, yeah, man, yeah, definitely, definitely. We just did that. We just did that with a family of what, 12? They're completely off grid. They have a complete homestead, 4 acres. They're close. They're near the beach, but they're like 25 minutes from the beach because they wanted to be further up in the mountain. So yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I don't. We don't have anything, brother. Yeah, we're fully booked, man. We're fully staffed. It's been a good year. So we were hiring like 4 months ago, but we're fully staffed, man. Only thing you can do, if you're serious about it and you're broke and you really want some money, the only thing you can do is referrals. It's like the easiest money you can make. Send somebody to me and you get a paycheck. Don't get much easier than that. Is that your email? Go take the free assessment on the website. Don't cost anything. Go to the website, take the assessment, and then one of our lawyers will reach out to you with like all your options and all that, and it doesn't cost you a dime. I think so, bruh. What you mean? Like I said, I don't know your style. I met somebody the other day that was a certified chubby chaser. He don't like no girl that weigh anything less than 250 pounds. That's what he likes. I don't know what you into. The website's in the bio. It's diasporaltd.com or app.diasporaltd.com. Either one will take you to the same website. But the link is in the bio because this is a business page. This is not my personal page. What? Oh, TikTok is saying that you guys should that I should tell you to tap and share the live. No, that is a TikTok thing. There's nothing for you to tap if you're watching on YouTube or you guys on Facebook. TikTok's the only one that talks to you. Like when you're live on YouTube or you're live on Facebook, you're just live. There's no messages coming from YouTube or Facebook telling you anything. But TikTok will send you messages. We just blocked the comment. We just banned the commenter. You know, if you have somebody up talking to you and they say the wrong thing, you need to kick that person off. Like TikTok micromanages you. What's the breakdown with the end of the year special again? Yeah, so you get your immigration, regardless of which type of immigration. Somebody was just saying, how do you immigrate? Regardless of which type of immigration, which path you're going, digital nomad, investor permit, residency permit, like it doesn't matter which version of immigration you're going for. Your immigration is included. You get a standard plot of land, a standard eighth of an acre, a 50 by 100 plot. We build you a 1,600 square foot house on that plot. We set up a trust fund for you, an offshore trust fund, and then we set up the bond ladder so that you have passive income coming through monthly while you're here, so that you don't necessarily have to work. You just have the passive income coming through. So that's the end of year special. Oh, it's 185. It's 185,000. Yeah, including yeah. Right. No, you're absolutely right. The house itself by itself typically costs that. So getting everything else is a big bonus, and the bond ladder is huge because you get that money back, right? Because it's a bond, so you get your principal back at the end of the bond term, right? So explain how bonds work. Okay, so these are treasury bonds. There are corporate bonds, which are private bonds. We're not talking about those, right? So there's that. But treasury bonds, which are government bonds, every government has them. Treasury bonds turns whoever the bond is being offered to into a bank, right? So the government needs money to do whatever. The government wants to build, I don't know, new train station or something, right? They need money for that train station. So they say, okay, we need to raise $20 billion. We could go to the IMF or something like that, but instead of doing that, what we're going to do is we're going to say, listen, we're going to pay 15% interest on this loan, and we're going to get the loan from the people. So that's what a bond is, right? So it's the same as the bank. They get their principal back plus interest. Now you're the bank, right? So you get your principal back. You get the money that you put in. You get all of that back plus interest, right? And the interest is what they're paying you every month. The same way like when you take out a loan and you got to pay it every month. Well, now the government took out the loan from you and they got to pay you every month, right? So that's what a bond is. A bond is debt. It's government debt, and then you're the bank. And so they're paying you back for the loan that they took from you, right? So you actually get all the money back. Versus like a stock, when you buy the stock, your money is absorbed into the stock. So if the stock goes down, all of your money is gone, right? If the stock goes up, you make more money, right? So the stock is riskier, but there's a higher upside. There's no chance that your interest rate goes up on a bond. It's set. So you're going to get that 15% or whatever the percentage is, you're going to get that completely. Right now, typically 15% would be like, crazy talk. What do you talk about 15%? You mean 6%, right? Right? That's typically how a bond would work, because this country is currently shifting to a developed nation. So it's going from a developing nation to a developed nation. They're building all the last minute infrastructure right now. So they need all that money right now. And because of that, they actually are giving out 15% interest rates, which is crazy. That's better than the S&P 500, right? 50% better than the S&P 500, right? And so those are the kinds of interest rates that are available right now in the bonds, which is why the bond ladders are so viable here. And so the interest rates matter, but the cost of living also matters, right? Because there's a couple countries where their interest rates are actually higher. They're giving out like 22%, 27%, but their cost of living is so whacked that it might as well be 6%, right? You can't actually live off of that 27%, even though that's what they're paying out, right? So the country you choose when you implement a strategy like this matters. The currency power matters, and then the cost of living and the modernity of that country also matters, right? So Kenya just happens to be the happy medium for all of those things. That answered the question about how okay, good. Should have waited for you to finish typing. I see. Hey, Fred, how are you? Didn't you say this thing was sold out? Yes, it was. Yep. If you're on an email list, you would have saw about 2 days ago, we bought another acre. So we got 8 more plots of land available for the special. We told you guys that one is sold out too. Like, we were trying to get that acre, but we didn't know whether we were going to get it because of Christmas. So during the Christmas and the holiday season, that end of year holiday season, what ends up happening is all the bigwigs go on vacation. So all the directors of government departments go on vacation, including like the lands department, which those are the people who allow you to transfer land from one person to the other. So the issue became, we sold out like December 29th or something like that. And then, there was another piece of land that we could acquire to like keep it going. But the director was in like Jakarta or something on vacation with his family. So we had no idea whether we were going to be able to get that land transferred in time to be able to offer you guys any kind of follow-up before the entire thing expired in February, right? And so, we lucked out and we were able to get that. So yes, thanks for following us for that long. We did sell out. We were able to acquire the additional acre. And we're now almost sold out of that. An acre only has 8 plots, right? An acre only has 850 by 100s. So we're already down to 3. It gets directly deposited into your bank account. Yeah. You get paid directly. So when there's an account that you set up to be able to buy bonds, it's called the CSD account. And once that account is set up, in that setup process, it'll ask you like, what account do you want your money deposited in? And then just every month, you'll just get a deposit in there. They send you a text message, right? So they'll send you a message. It's like, hey, the status of your bond account has changed. And then like a day or two later, the deposit hits. It's by the beach in Diani Beach. So you can look up Diani Beach. It's been voted the best beach in Africa, not in Kenya. It's been voted the best beach in Africa for like 6 out of the last 10 years. So it's very easy to Google. Diani Beach. Yeah, so because it's in an area like that, it actually gives you income opportunity, right? So like our clients who do like Airbnbs, when they come to the Diani Beach area, they can get $500 a night in dollars, not local Kenyan shillings, because it's Diani Beach. So it puts you in a position where you can make decent money, at the beach. House safety in Diani Beach, the violent crime rate is under 1%. Whoa. How much shillings? For what? For the end of year, it's not in shillings. We're an American company. So if you want the end of year special, then it's 185. Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, you can Google it, but it's under 1%. The violent crime rate in Diani is under 1%. Very very safe. No, they're actually right on the paved road. There's a road that actually goes to the beach, and then off of that road is where these plots are, and that entire road is paved. Yeah. And then if you were to walk to the beach, it would take you like 15 minutes. If you drive to the beach, it takes you 5. Utilities are available, and you can upgrade to off grid. So yeah. So the utilities that would like come with the house is like water comes with the house because you have your own private borehole. So water is with it. We typically install biodigesters, so you don't have a sewer bill and you don't have to pump out a septic tank, right? So it'll just take care of itself. And then you can upgrade to solar and not have to worry about electric, or you can just have an electric hookup. Some of our folks have like a diesel backup generator in case there's any electric issues, so it's like an automatic kick-in generator, and then they keep the electric bill because it's not that expensive. Or there are people who would just straight up upgrade to solar with battery backup and like not even need an electric hookup, and so they don't have an electric bill at all. Oh, looked like somebody. Oh, I guess not. I thought somebody was trying to come up. All right. Yeah. So what ends up happening is you'll get like 6 million shillings back off the bond ladder, because the bond ladder is 6 bonds at least 1 million shillings per bond. So we would acquire the bond ladder and so it'd be six bonds in there. Each one would have at least a million. They actually have a little bit more than a million, but each one would have at least a million Kenyan shillings in them at the time that we acquire them and create the bond ladder. And then they'd be acquired in the name of your trust, and you would be the beneficiary of your trust. So every month, the what you would get off of that 6 million shillings that's in the bond ladder, there'd be six of them because bonds pay out twice a month every 6 months. So there'd be six of them, and then every month you would get a minimum of 50,000 shillings per month. Here, I'll show you what our clients got all of last year. It's easier for me to show you on TikTok, but I can throw it up on the green screen here and try to show it to you on YouTube, unless you have a TikTok. If you have a TikTok, it is way easier for me to show it to you on TikTok. So if you have a TikTok and you're willing to come see us on TikTok, let me know, because you're not going to be able to see all the numbers the way that the green screen on YouTube works. Yeah, you see how you can't like really see it, but it shows you how it's like January, and then what ends up happening is that January one would pay out in January and July, right? And so you can see all those different interest rates going from all the different bonds on the side there. And so the lowest one was what, 12%? The highest one was 18.4607%, right? And so you see some of them are tax free, like this one. That's an infrastructure bond. Infrastructure bonds are tax exempt. So those are the best bonds in the business. All the rest of them have a 10% withholding, right? So you can see just by doing the math here, even after taxes, none of these bonds paid our clients less than, matter of fact, this one, the smallest one here, after taxes would pay 54,000. So that's how it works. It is weird to see on YouTube though. So if you really want to see the document and get a breakdown for that, I can put it up on TikTok where you can like read the entire thing. Average temperature. Oh, that's a hell of a question. Especially since they do it in centigrade. I don't know. I would say 80. You know what I mean? For as an American, I'd say it's around like 75, 80, somewhere in there. Now, November, Christmas, and a little bit of January is like summer. So that's when it gets to like 95. And where it's like hot. Most people, all of our places come with AC. That's not a standard thing, even though it's hot as it is out here. That is not standard. So that's where people are hanging out in the AC, No, it makes sense. All right, cool. Yeah, I don't know why there's not a better option with YouTube to be able to like shrink the size of things and like show documents well, like you can on TikTok. But yeah, that's the way it works. Yeah, it's funny because people will come visit a lot of times during December. I don't know why, but the most people come on like investigative tours or we really don't do investigative tours. Our partner does, but we used to do like CEO tours, like for business people and all of that. And they would all want to come like November, December, and then they'll be like, "Oh, it's so hot." I'm like, "No, you just came in the middle of summer." Like that's all this is. It's not typically this hot out here, but I mean it's still tropical, you know what I mean. But the thing is, there's normally an ocean breeze, right? So we normally get this beautiful breeze from the ocean. It keeps things cool, and even where the houses are, there's a balcony. In the design that we build, in the end of year package, there's this balcony on the second floor, right? And when you step out into that balcony on the second floor, the breeze is blowing like you got a fan on high, right? It's so wild. So really really beautiful because it's so close to the beach. You get that ocean breeze all the time. So it's actually pretty cool to sit out there on that balcony and like read a book, have a coffee, listen to some music, like whatever. So yeah, definitely a pretty cool area. I myself am actually building a house in that area. So the people who are doing like the end of year special will like physically be my neighbor. So I myself am willing to live there. It will be done in like a month. It's being built right now, but it'll be done in about a month. Yeah. Exactly. So, and that's the base price, right? There's still broker fees and all of that, right? So the 6 million isn't what it costs, right? That's what it costs for like the bond. So yes, there's over 6 million just in the bond ladder, and then you're still getting a house, and you're still getting land, and you're still getting immigration, which immigration costs like $12,000, right? So you're still getting like all of that stuff. So it really is a pretty killer deal. I see you're over there doing math, but yeah, it is a killer deal. Immigration costs so much because the government charges what's called an issuance fee after you're approved. The issuance fee is about $8,000 for a max permit. So a max permit is 3 years. So the issuance fee is a quarter million shillings per year that you're issued on the permit. Right now, some people that came with that bad mentality, right? Like that guy was asking, what's the cheapest, 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 cheapest? You don't want that mentality when you're moving to another country. So some people will come with that mentality and they'll be like, oh, well, okay, let me just get 1 year then. So I only have to pay the one quarter million. That just sets you up for denial because now you just gave the government 6 chances to deny you. And if you get denied, it messes up your dual citizenship, right? So you do not want a denial, right? So if you're getting 3 years at a shot, you only have to renew twice, and then boom, you're a citizen, right? But if you let them take you through that process of renewal every single year, the odds of you trying to do a renewal and just getting, somebody who's in one out of those 7 years that you're renewing, just right? Because instead of doing 3, now you're doing 6 renewals. So you just dozens of running into a problem. And typically with those people, it always comes up. Something goes wrong, and then they start calling our law firm, and like it's a mess. Can you explain the dependent passes for K class permits? Assume wife and 3 kids. Yeah, the dependent passes are simply saying that whoever is coming with you, and it doesn't matter which, right? So class A, class L, class C, class G, it doesn't matter. But it just says that those people are dependent on you, so that they don't need to show their own income because they're depending on your income. Spousal passes are a little more expensive than juvenile passes. So if there's 3 kids, it'd be something like somewhere in the neighborhood of $2,000 per kid and 25 per spouse, right? And so yeah, that's essentially how that works. There's not a whole lot to it. The issue though is passes are attached. They're dependent on the permit. They're dependent passes. So the permit has to come first, and then the passes get attached to the permit. So anyone who's like, oh yeah, I'll process your passes, and you don't have a permit yet, is a scammer. You can't do it. No way to process it. You literally have to like log into the permit in order to create the pass. And there are issuance fees on them. The other thing is for them to freely be able to enter and leave the country, like the permit holder, you have to purchase. It's almost like a multi visa, right? But you have to purchase, and they put it in the passport as like a stamp, as an endorsement. So you have to purchase something extra for everyone who has a pass instead of a permit. The person with the permit can leave and go, come and go like a citizen. They even have their own lane in immigration, right, where they can come and go, as a citizen. But the dependents can't, unless you either purchase that, which it makes all the sense in the world to purchase that, versus purchasing a new ETA, which is like the version of a visa. You would have to purchase a visa for them every time they traveled. So that's why there are differences in the pricing. But there's that. Let's see, what else do they need? they might, like your spouse. The reason why your spouse costs more than your kids is because your spouse can get an ID card and should. So your spouse would get an ID card attached to your permit, just like you get an ID card, so that costs more. So then when you go to get, when we take like our clients to immigration and we get their endorsement on their passport, which is the fruition of their permit, the adults can then go over to biometrics, which we pay for. It's all part of the package. But then we go over the biometrics, and then the adults get their biometrics done, and then their ID card comes from the government. The ID card opens a different tier of government service access. So you can have a permit, you can have the endorsement in your passport, and you have a fully, fledged Class K permit. You still wouldn't be able to buy a car because you don't have the ID card, right? The ID card number is different than your permit number, and that ID card number are the things that are necessary to like go in there and like convert your driver's license and like buy you your own car and stuff like that. So you get deeper access to government services with the ID card. Kids are not allowed to have them. So kids are cheaper than adults because they don't have to go through the biometric process. Some people will just charge everyone the same, and so they'll just pocket the money on the kids, and yeah, definitely. No, it does not increase. It does not increase. Oddly enough, you would think that it would, right? So sometimes, and so this is something that is true amongst immigration officers worldwide. Typically, immigration officers have discretion, right? Our law firm physically goes to immigration. A lot of people, they'll do like an online application and they'll just sit there. They'll be like, oh, it's the government, you just gotta wait. Like, no. Our law firm is harassing the government daily, right? We have a lawyer that is her only job. She goes to immigration every day with a folder of our clients. And yeah, so what's going on with Malik? What's going on with, and that's what she does. And the only way to get rid of her is to process those clients, right? So we hire somebody to be annoying, right? Who's a fully licensed lawyer. And so they're there like fighting for our clients every day. So while someone who's like, oh, I'm just going to do it myself, they show up with a family of 5, yes, immigration is going to use their discretion and be like, we don't think that you can show us more bank statements, show us more. And they're going to start messing with you because our lawyer is on their neck. It just doesn't come up with our clients, right? So it's a level of service that we provide, that, obviously you can't provide to yourself. And a lot of kind of the generalist firms don't have the skill set to even have somebody in there every day or be paying somebody a monthly salary to be going to immigration every day. It also means that our legal team knows the immigration officers very, very well because they're there every single day, right? So, the quality of your team is definitely going to affect the quality of your outcome. Yeah, definitely. You can take an assessment. It's free. Just go to our website and look for the immigration assessment. There's a bunch of them on there. If you see another one that you're interested in, go ahead and take it. But you can take that assessment, and then someone from our legal team will definitely get back to you and just like break down what happened in the assessment, what's open to you, and all of that, and then you can move forward from there. So you can actually kind of pre-screen yourself for free through our assessment process. We try to make it so that we don't waste nobody's time and we don't let nobody waste ours, right? So, hey Vibes, what's going on? Yeah, no problem. Sure. For Class K, okay, yep. Is the 24K gross or net? It's gross. Yep, it's gross. Oh, you got a pension again. That's beautiful. Yeah, that'll help. That'll help. Yeah, it's gross. So you don't have to worry about. Well, it is gross, but a lot of times they're looking for what'll end up happening is they'll call for your bank statements, right? And so when they call for the bank statements, they typically do want to see something above 2K hit the bank. So in that regard, you want it to be net, because what ends up happening is there'll be documentation. Like, so you're saying that you have like the pension, you'll get like your pension report, and the pension report can be like, okay, your pension is 2,000, let's just say it's the minimum here, your pension is $2,000. They're going to accept that, but then they're going to want a bank statement, and they're going to want to match the pension deposit to the deposit on the bank statement. And so if it's like, okay, there's $2,000, but then these taxes come out, and then what hits the bank is 15, and then they have discretion, remember, right? So that then they're going to be like, nah, we don't know, and they can arbitrarily, deny it at that point. So actually, I would say, even though by the letter it's gross, you're going to want it to be net. Now, if you have an issue, we can assist and we can take care of that issue, right? And obviously, I won't get into our intellectual property on a live, but we have ways to assist you, because we've been doing this so long. We understand, the intricacies of the process so well. We have ways to assist you if you're like your net is below that 2,000. Oh yeah, then you're fine. You're fine. Yeah, but we have seen people who they get their pension was pre-tax, or their retirement account was pre-tax. So they'll say a number, and then the tax comes out, and then what hits the account. But there are ways to polish that up that are legal. There are legal ways to polish that up. So, but yeah, you're good. You're good. So you wouldn't have an issue if that's the dollar amount that you're working with. Hey, Susan, how are you? Nice to see you. Mary, what's going on? Still on Facebook, I see. You're like the only person that only shows up on Facebook. A lot of the Facebook people end up showing up on TikTok at some point or whatever. But you're Facebook only, huh? Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yeah. Really? You only have a Facebook? Ain't nothing wrong with that. I tell you what, if I wasn't in business, I wouldn't even have social media. Ain't nothing wrong with that. My wife is she's definitely with the socials though. So she's pushing me. My personal page has a lot of stuff about my son on it. Medical, same as America. Yep. You get, there's private hospitals and there's, public hospitals and all of that stuff. So obviously, whatever. But same as America. Yeah, insurance. I feel like insurance is pretty reasonable out here. It's hard. I have an entire family plan and employee plans, so it's a little bit different for me. But it's I don't know. It's somewhere around 90,000 a year for an individual. So 90,000 Kenyan shillings, right? So you're talking about, I don't know, what is that? $790 a year, right? For the highest tier plan. So I pay a little more than that, but like I said, I got a plan that has 10 people on it, right? So it's I pay accordingly. But for individuals, it's not particularly expensive. We have a partner that specializes in medical tourism. So if you're a U.S. veteran, she has the VA health hookup and all of that stuff. So we can definitely pass you along to her if you qualify for some of that stuff.
I don't know. I've had this dry cough now for like a week, maybe a little more. Maybe you'd be using that insurance. Go get it checked out. Yeah, I can drop that green screen. Thanks for bringing that up. There you go. No, 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 no. That the gardener and the butler use that vehicle. I don't drive that thing. It's big because like they go pick up stuff and got to transport it. But yeah, yeah. I currently drive a Duster, a Renault. But I think I'm gonna buy a Cherry, which is a Chinese SUV. We'll see. Does a car come with the package? No, but you can upgrade to one. Yeah, we have relationships with two solid dealers. We only do new cars because we only do cars that have like a bumper to bumper warranty on them. Just because you don't need to be nickel and dimed by a used car, especially when used cars are almost the same price as new ones. So there's that. Thank you, COVID. No, we do. It's just not a special. We have a package that includes a car. You're right. It's just not a special package. So the end of the year special is like what we're typically talking about right now. But yeah, we have a package that includes a car. It's 280,000. $280,000. It includes a car. It includes a four-bedroom house that's bigger than the special house. It includes a 50 by 100. You can upgrade to a quarter acre instead of an eighth. So yeah, like we do have that package. Ooh, you've been following me for a while, huh? Yeah, we do have smart house packages. Yeah. Smart house packages almost double though the price of whatever, but the smart houses are slick. They're real, real slick. You can essentially talk to any major utility in the house. Like your steps light up as you walk up the steps and go down the steps and all of that stuff. You can talk to the door to open it, voice recognition. You can talk to the toilet. The toilet answers you, right? And the toilet does all kinds of crazy stuff. So yeah, smart houses are significant, and it comes with your solar off-grid package already installed. So you're already going to have your solar panels, your battery backups, your all of that stuff is already installed. So yeah, the smart houses are really, really nice. But you end up getting a smart house for what you would have bought a regular house in America for, because it ends up like doubling the price of like our standard houses. Our standard houses are like half the price of what a house would be in the United States, right? So like we have our Nomad house is 3 bedroom, 2 story, like 1,800 square feet. And it's like 170,000, right? So, you know, but then if you made that a smart house, now you're talking about whatever 340 or something like that. So now it's the same price it would have been in the U.S., but you got all the smart stuff. You can press a button or say a word, and the windows frost, and nobody can see in. And you say another word, and the windows go clear again, and like what I mean. It's a smart house. So for folks that like those like luxury upgrades, that those are there. Yeah, the 4 acre estate. Yeah, that was for a family of 12 though. But yeah. Well, I actually
I know, I get what you're saying, like, and I understand why it could like feel like, well, man, family of 12, that must have been a headache. But actually, typically, those bigger families, I like doing them more because they typically got it together because they have so many, people in the family. You know what I mean? So like they came together, they were able to draw, from, the family members. Um, so there were like six or five individual families, right, with careers and households and and purses, you know what I mean? And so they were able to be like, all right, we're bringing the money from five different families and the assets from five different families and the 401ks and the Roth IRAs and all of that from five different families together to bear on this move. So it actually just becomes, way easier, in that regard, where we can just build out every and anything you want, and then the more you do, we can typically get what's called an economy of scale going. So as long as you guys can agree to all have the same tiles, the same windows, the same faucets, you know what I mean? Then it's almost like a bulk discount, right? So if we can do that, that's when we can like crush it. So they had 4 acres. What is it? 4 acres, 6 or 7 buildings. You know what I mean? You could do all of that for like 1.3 million. So like imagine that. Like you got, 5 mansions. You got a rec center with like a basketball court and all of that stuff going on. You got the 4 acres. You got gardens. You got pools. You got tennis courts. All of that going on and all of that. You only paid 1.3. You know what I mean? So you can do really really cool stuff with those families. So it sounds like a hassle because the family's so large, but it's actually way easier because the family typically takes care of any kind of financial hurdles that might be there, and they're able to get like really good stuff out of it. How many? I think the smallest ones were 4, because there were some where like it was just like the mother and 2 daughters, right? Like there were sisters who had kids, but I don't know about the men. You know what I mean? But there were no men with them. And then there were like brothers with full families, and then there were like the matriarch, patriarch, like grandma, grandpa type of thing going on. So like the smaller houses had 4 bedrooms, and then the biggest house had, well, 6 bedrooms and a DSQ, which is like an apartment on the outside of the house where like the maid lives essentially, right? So I guess technically 7 bedrooms. Here, um, 16. There's 16 bedrooms here. Yeah, but it's an octoplex, so it's 8 2-bedroom units. Yeah. Yep, that is it. All right, guys. Any other questions on any of that? We got any other questions on end of year special? How it works? Mm-hmm. Henrock, send me an email, man, and then we'll see what we can do. All right. Looks like we're good. If you're about to send a comment, just go ahead and send it, and then I'll just wait for you to finish it, or put a 1 in the chat, and I'll wait. Other than that,
It looks good. All right, works for me. All right. I think we're good, guys. Thanks, Freedom Family, for coming out here and hanging out with me and Diaspora Freedom Initiative. And I will be here same time tomorrow, and we'll get back into it. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out. See you soon.